Hello and welcome to my Dominion Tower guides and tips. This isn't really just a full guide, it's more just like a bunch of tips I've collected so far over a day of doing it, so I hope it helps. To get there, you want to either go south out of Shanty Pass and cross the bridge, or you could also use the fairy rings and just run north. Once you are there, you want to talk to the face, talk to him once, and then talk to him again, and you get a Dominion medallion, which will teleport you back to the Dominion Tower after that, so you only need to actually run there once. The requirements, you do need 110 plus combat to get there and use it. This is the Jagger's requirement, not mine. You also need 20 of a certain list of quests. You can just look them up. The fewer quests you've done, the actually easier it becomes. And you also need some gear and supplies, obviously. So then there are 5 different modes that you could technically do. Spectator, though, doesn't really count as a mode, so I guess 4 different modes. So start with the bottom. So freestyle, basically you get to fight any boss on your own terms with your own handicaps, or no handicaps if you want it that way, or some good handicaps if you also want that. But in order to fight any of the bosses in freestyle, you have to unlock them in endurance or climber mode. So for example, if I click here, I have not seen Nomad yet, so I can't do that. And I guess you actually have to defeat them, because I haven't defeated the Decaying Avatar or those ones yet, and I have fought them, so you do have to defeat them in order to do them. So that's kind of annoying. I thought I beat the Dagonoth Mother, but maybe not. So if I say hold on, it gets me out of that. In special mode, you get several different ones. I've done the first 2, but you get all kinds of special things like no more Nomad, no more. It's just 2 Nomads right in a row. So that's kind of hard. Revenge of the Evil Chickens was kind of fun. 15 evil chickens. Back in the day. Anyway. Then Endurance. This is a pretty easy mode, actually. It gives pretty low level bosses. As long as you're ready for the boss, like you have a super anti-fire. As I said, have the super anti-fire or an anti-fire shield, or just something. Because you can get Elvarg. And that can basically just mess up your entire trip right there. I got to level 50 in endurance, and then I got bored and quit. So I've seen people getting to like level 100 in endurance. So really, endurance is not that bad. The final mode is climber mode. This is by far the hardest mode. I'm going to click on it now. But you get any random boss. So here I got the Black Knight Titan. And then it gives you kind of a little bit of quick information, and then what quest it was from, and then the combat that you'll end up fighting. So this one, it only attacks with melee, so I'll probably just pray melee and I'll be fine. But depending on what boss you're fighting, that can vary quite a bit. For almost all the bosses, this is really all you need to read. Occasionally you will end up with a boss like the Pest Queen or Nomad or something like that that's really hard to do. And so you'll have to kind of live with that. So if I just click fight, it takes me into the arena. I probably should have gotten my Titan anyway. So then it gives you a handicap. There's 22 different handicaps. So if you select stop, it'll select a random one. So they're kind of all down here as well. So what am I going to get today? No power-ups. I don't really use power-ups anyway, so that's fine for me. But there's 22 different handicaps. And each floor you do adds another handicap to that list. So you can literally end up with all the handicaps at once, which is actually a reward. So there are actually some handicaps that are good, like Lifesaver, which if you get too low health, you get boosted back up. I use that quite a bit. There's also Monster Stun, which makes the monster get stunned for the few seconds of the match, which can be helpful. What else is there? I think there's one more bonus. I can't remember what it is right now. Oh, no, not disease. Anyway, so there are certain bonuses, but then there are also disadvantages, like reduced range attack. Kind of self-explanatory. No potions, which for me, that would be actually really horrible. Or no prayer. Now, personally, my experience on what I should keep towards the end and what I shouldn't is that I should try to keep the no prayers and no potions as, or at least keep my ability to use those. Because if you end up with something like the decaying avatar and you don't have potions, which happened to me once, you're kind of screwed. Because you need the prayer to defeat the decaying avatar, otherwise you'll just die. And so you do need those too. Now this brings up kind of a point that a lot of people are talking about on the forums right now, where you do end up with impossible bosses. For example, one of the bosses here is Sigmund, who you need a special attack to disable his prayers. They supply the ancient mace, by the way, but you need the special attack. But you can't really use it because if you have no special attacks enabled, which is one of these, I can't remember which one it is, but if that's enabled, then you're kind of screwed. So there is that problem right now, and it's the same for the Pest Queen. If you have no special attacks enabled, or if you end up like Nomad with no potions and no food, you're not going to really win. But that's why I advise saving the prayers and the potions, and if you can, the special attacks to as far as you can, because you will probably need those at some point later on. And as I said, they stack. So if you ever get to a point where, like at floor 21, you have 21 different things. So at floor 21, you're actually going to have to get rid of potions or prayer. Now, I have gotten to floor 21 once, twice or something. And then I selected no potions, which turned out to be a pretty bad decision because I died of poison. And there are two things. There's a poison and then there's a disease. There's the disease and poison's around here somewhere as well. So basically I died just from poison. It wasn't because I ran out of prayer. It wasn't because the boss killed me. It was just because I just died. So there is that. But I was trying really hard to get to 22. Didn't make it. So each thing has its own little thing. You're going to just have to read it. So here's another fight. Just kind of general Kazard. By the way, if you press hold on after a fight, then you go basically just respawn in the arena, and you can run over here. There's a bank, there's an exit. So if you ever need a restock, you can just come here. Or if you go into the fight and click here, but you realize, oh no, I forgot something, you can just run down the spiral staircase. I advise the south staircase more than the north, because the north brings you on that side, south brings you over here, right next to the bank. And the final thing is, I'm probably not going to make a guide on each and every boss, obviously, because there's lots of different bosses, and I honestly have other things I need to do. And also, not only are there lots of different bosses, but there's lots of different combinations of the bosses. For example, if you have no prayers against a certain boss, that makes everything very different than if you do have prayers. So there's lots of ways to fight each boss, which makes it kind of hard. So I'm not going to make things on individual bosses. However, things like Nomad and things like that, I can fight on an individual basis very close to how I fought them during the quest, which means I can actually make a guide on how to fight them, which is obviously something I couldn't do beforehand. So when I do get around to doing that, expect a Nomad guide hopefully soon. If I ever do get to fight Nomad and defeat him, we'll see if that ever happens. So far hasn't, but if that ever does happen, do expect that. So a lot of bosses, by the way, are kind of just like this, where it's not hard at all. You just pray melee. I pray turmoil, or you can pray piety, whatever. Soul Split can help on a lot of bosses, but in general, most of the bosses aren't too hard. Oh, I should explain. The Dominion factor, by the way, is just a number, and it kind of determines the amount of rewards you can get. Those are the map. That's pretty easy, but and then it also displays the amount of Dominion factor I could have, and I might lose, and things like that. So it's pretty self-explanatory. The Dominion factor that you'll see on the high scores, last night I was ranked like 325th on the high scores, and then I went to bed, so I'm probably a lot lower now. But The Dominion Factor you see there is the addition of all the Dominion Factor you've ever gained once you got to the chest. So that can actually be very high. For me, it's like 1.5 million already. But let's say I got to this and I said, you know what, I don't think I can beat Melzar the Mad. I know I can. It's from Dragon Slayer. Very easy to defeat. But if I got something like Nomad and I had no prayers or no potions or something like that, and I was just like, you know, I don't think I can do it, I'd rather take the current Dominion Factor I have. Then you can just press hold on, run over here, and then you go here and you claim the rewards. And I'll show you the rewards real fast. These are just going to be a few of the rewards, but you get scorpion meat, which heals 220, so that's kind of helpful. You get kind of other random things. You get experience books. And you can get help horns, which can be used in the arena. In the experience book, it gives any combat, not summoning, but it can give prayer. I've been using on magic because I kind of want magic experience right now. Oh, wait. I gotta actually bank those. So bank. And then I go over here. And these are some of the other rewards I've gotten. So I've gotten like 16 Dragon Bone, got Dagonoth Bone of all things. Quite a bit of scorpion meat. And then there's also these Dominion crossbows, which have a 135 attack bonus. So that's really high, obviously. However, they only last 15 minutes, apparently. I've collected 4 so far. You unlock these in endurance mode, by the way, so you might want to do that sometime. So this is the gear I generally go into the tower with. The gear is really almost completely up to you. However, I like Void because it is excellent Tribrid gear, and you will occasionally need to Tribrid. There are a few bosses, the 2 Dagonoth Mothers, that you want to be able to use all different attack styles on. So, for that reason, I have Diamond Bolts, and I also have all the different spells, so Fire, Water, Earth, and Air. You do need to be on the normal spellbooks to do this, so you don't have to be, but it helps so much. I highly, highly advise it. Obviously, you can not wear Void, you can use Bandos or whatever you want, but just know that against certain bosses, it is going to give you a little bit of a disadvantage. If you're going to be doing endurance mode, you really do want something to protect you from Fire Breath in case you get Elvarg. So I have Super Anti-Fire Potion. You can just bring a normal Anti-Fire Potion. You can bring a Anti-Fire Shield or whatever. You can just even pray Mage. That works, sort of. In endurance mode, it's not really as big of a deal. You can actually just bring normal food because all the bosses in endurance mode, as I've said before, are really quite easy. If you're going into climber mode, you do get the ability to restock after every battle, so you don't need all of this. I just like not having to go to the bank after every battle, so that's usually why I wear something like this, unless I'm fighting a really hard boss. And especially for the climber mode, you want to keep your inventory full. This is because one of the handicaps is a slippery fingers, which unequips your weapon. And if your inventory is full, though, it won't unequip your weapon and you'll be fine. There has reportedly been a glitch that if you have your inventory full and you have a weapon on, it'll sometimes just disappear. Now, I have not been able to confirm this. It's never happened to me, but do be careful about that. And people have literally said that they lost a chaotic from that. I haven't actually seen somebody that said that on the forums. I have seen somebody that said he saw other people doing it. So don't take it from me, but that's just what I heard. So that's something to keep in mind, but in general, I would say having a full inventory really helpful for preventing the slippery fingers. Now, obviously, with this setup, eventually Void becomes worthless because of 2 of the handicaps unequip your top and your shield, which basically means you can't really use Void, but Void will get you through quite a few of the levels very quickly. And you don't have to use Diamond Bolts, obviously. You can use Broad Bolts and things like that. But this is just kind of like a basic setup, and those are kind of the tips I have on gear. Well, thanks for watching. I do hope it helped. Sorry that I kind of rambled quite a bit, but there was a lot I wanted to say. So please rate, comment, and subscribe.